Hey everybody, all right, so in this episode I'm going to go over the basics on setting up your crab pots, and hopefully some of the stuff you learn in this video will help you guys get your limits as we embark on a new crab season for 2020-2021. Go get them. Not fished in probably a couple months. You notice I haven't uploaded anything. It's because I tore my right rotator cuff, and I finally just recently am getting out of this sling. So it's been about a week, but I still can't lift anything heavier than my own arm weight right now for probably another like 6 weeks. So although I am not going to be able to fish or haul pots out of the ocean or reel anything in, I'm still going to go out there, get on the water. I'll bring my kids with me. We could have some fun still for now, but hopefully in another couple months I'll be able to reel in some stuff. But I do want to show everybody kind of what we do to set up our crab pots, because I think it's important that if I'm going to have a channel and we're going to have some educational stuff, I want to do as much as I can to help everybody out there. And if you already know all this, great. But if not, if this helps you out in any way, that'd be awesome. So here we go. We have 3 different kinds of pots, but these are the 2 main ones. These are old. These are what I used to use on my kayak when I used to drop pots off on my kayak, which might be one of the reasons why I have a torn rotator cuff. I don't know, possibly. But I'm not going to be using that kayak for a long time just because of that issue. So we'll be dropping these off on our boat when we go. So this one here collapses and breaks down, which is always nice when you're on a kayak. But because we're going to be taking it out on the boat, we've zip tied all the corners together to make sure it's a lot more stable. So that's number 1. So if you are going to get these cages, stability is always what I was worried about. So I always zip tie them to secure them. As you can see right here is another zip tie. The other thing about these cages is the weight. Depending on how deep you're going to drop these crab pots, I recommend having pretty much enough weight to keep it down for at least 1 day. But if you're planning on leaving them out over a certain amount of days, so you're going to have tides, high tides and low tides, you're going to want to weight these down. Also, if you're going to go really deep, you're going to want more weight as well. So what we did with this pot here, this cage, is we got 2 landscaping spikes, both 24 inches from the store. And these together will add up to about 4.5 pounds. And that is clearly going to be enough weight that we can drop this down, and I feel pretty confident. If I were to leave this out probably for multiple days, I'd probably want to add a little bit more weight to it, but for a day trip in and out, I'm totally confident that this will work. So that's kind of how we rig these pots. I think the weight is going to be critical for everybody. You don't want the crab pot, if it's too light and there's a decent swell, what'll happen is it'll just bounce or walk the bottom, and as it's walking the bottom, you're going to lose opportunities to catch crab and potentially snag it somewhere, or drop it, lose it, and have to search all day to find it. So you definitely don't want that to happen, especially if you're going to drop them and then go fishing and then come back and find your string. So get good weight on it. I know they're hard to reel in if you don't have like an electronic pulley, which we don't, which is why I'll bring the kids to pull in our pots. But that's what we're going to do. So anyway, that is my recommendation on weighting it down and securing the corners, and the pot will work great. We got our doors here. If I'm going to leave them out over just 1 day, I'm not worried about weighting these, and because some people say, well, if you don't weight them, the crab will open the door and they'll go back out. If I'm not going to leave them overnight, I'm not going to weight them down, because as long as I have enough bait inside the cage, they're not going to leave. So if I run out of bait, yeah, then they might be trying to fight their way out and look for more food. So for 1 day, I don't really worrying about keeping these doors closed, but I do have a little weight on this one just to help. May do the same here. So that's the cage basics. The other piece to know, and which is a law, like legal stuff, is if you look right here on our cage, we have cotton biodegradable rope right here. So you have to have this tied off on your crab pot, because you need this if you were to lose your crab pot in any way. So let's say a prop comes by and you lose your buoy and you can't find a crab pot, if something happens and you can't pick it up, once it's strapped down like this will eventually biodegrade, go away, and allows if any crab are in your pot that get stuck, eventually this will break off, the door can open, crab can get out. So that's one thing you must have on your crab pots. The other thing you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that you have on here, and I still have to put this on, but you're going to want to put on your fishing license number on your buoys as well, and then obviously any other phone numbers and name and all that stuff. So while we're on the buoy, the other thing I like to do is make sure they look as ugly as humanly possible. I just sprayed this with yellow. It's old, you can see it's been worn down. The red's coming off. I may put another red stripe on it, but going out as many times as I have in the past, I hate coming up on looking for your string, and then all these buoys can tend to look alike. So if they're just pure white or red and white, which is one of the most common, it could be kind of frustrating to not see your buoy. So I always recommend making sure you can distinctly know which is your buoy and which isn't your buoy, plus your name, because you're not going to see your name and your fishing license number on it from far away, a few hundred yards away. So you want to make sure you can see it. The next thing is the rope. This is leaded. This is 100 feet right here, and this is leaded rope, leaded line, so that the rope will sink. You don't want your line floating on the top of the water, you know, out 20, 30 yards on a low tide. When that happens, if it's floating on the top of the water, a boat can come by, take you out with its prop. You lose your crab cage. You could also injure the prop, which isn't going to be good. So this is leaded. It'll drop down. I don't think in California it's a law, but I do know in other states that it is. So I would just highly recommend it. There's also sinking rope you can use if you don't have that. So check that out, but make sure you go that route, especially if you're going to be in a crowded area. In terms of bait holders, this one works effective. It's extremely good. I like it. It's hardy, and it'll last forever. And you can shove pretty much any bait you want in there: anchovies, squid, fish parts, chicken. Doesn't really matter. I like these bag bags. This is expensive, like $17 to $20 depending on where you get it. This bag was $4. So you may go through 1 or 2 of these a season for each pot, but they're going to hold up pretty good. I like them because they can expand pretty big right here. So you can use those. You can throw these in as well. So for us, if we go to the other pot that we're going to use, this round one, I like the way, so if you're looking to buy a pot, I like this one because the cage is already just in there, so it makes everything a lot easier. So if we're going to use small parts and we don't want to be easily picked out, we'll load this up with squid or other types of bait we want to use. We'll put our bigger bait down in here, so like if we use chicken, we'll just throw some chicken on the bottom, squid in the bag, and we'll drop this in. I like doing that just because now it makes it harder for the crab to get it. And like I said earlier, the harder it is for the crab, or the crab won't want to leave if they have a food source. So these doors open up pretty easily. But what's good about these doors is as they open up, it's a really tight spot right here between this cage and the crab to get out. Makes it a little bit harder for them, especially if you get a good pot full. They might be gridlocked here. So that might be nice. So this round pot is weighted down as well with the landscape spikes. They're heavy. We just got them tied down with some metal. We have leaded rope with this one as well. This one has all the doors. Oh, one thing I didn't talk about was you got to have the escape areas for undersized crab. So you make sure your crab pots have that. I have it on this one, and I have them over here as well. So you got to make sure that you have those, because that's also a regulation you need to follow. Let's talk real quick about the types of bait to use. Anything that smells, obviously, chicken. My favorite is squid, especially just throw a big whole squid in a bag like this. It's going to stay there for a long time. Smells, it's a good attractant, but obviously people throw chicken in there. I've not used that very often. My favorite would be to hang a fish carcass in there along with squid in a bag. That's going to probably be, you know, what I think to be your best bet over the long term. Crabs will pick at that carcass forever. I think it's a really good attractant. It helps them come to the crab pots, I think, a little bit faster, and then the bag of squid or mackerel or what else you want to put in there work really well. So anyway, that is it. You got to make sure you got your way to measure them. They got to be 5 3/4, and that's going to be on these guys right here. And I think all right, so I showed you these 2 pots right here. So we have the round, the large round, and the square cage. Like I said, not always the most sturdy. This one here we got from Gus's in San Francisco. And they were getting kind of sold out of a lot of their stuff and hoping to get some new stuff in this week. But this one here is weighted pretty heavy already, so we're not going to add any additional weight to this pot. So if you have these, I feel very confident that these will hold the bottom really well. I mean, maybe if we were going to leave them in a couple 100 feet of water overnight, we definitely probably want to add some weight. But for a day trip, I feel good about these. I'm not too excited about the orange cage that this comes in. It doesn't hold a lot, but we can definitely make this work. And then again, adding these on, I got these bags here off of Amazon for like $4.95. And I think these are great, and so these will clip in as well, so we'll have 2 different bait cages. And another thing that you can add in there too, which I like for carcasses, so if you have any of your leftover lingcod or halibut or anything like that, or salmon carcasses from a month ago or so, or last season or whatever, these guys right here are good because these just wire right in. You put them through the skull, so they hang in there pretty good, somewhere through the body, and then you can clip them right into the crab pot, lock them in, and that'll let the fish carcass hang in there. So I like these as well, and these we got at Gus's and were pretty cheap as well. So I think I covered it. You just want to make sure that you go out on these safe days and go get your crab. Hopefully you liked this. It was educational. You learned a few things, and if you did, like and subscribe to the channel. I think one thing that's important, since I haven't been fishing and posting, is the reason why I do this is I'm a teacher and I'm a football coach. And so I don't do this for any other reason than I like doing that. I like teaching. That's why I coach. That's why I teach. I also like spending time with my family. So for nothing else, at least I have all this footage kind of for the families to see for generations to come, which I think is pretty cool to have. But again, if you want to like seeing more of these videos and whatnot, it'd be great if you subscribed.